Rural to urban migration is often an exercise intended for those pursuing the proverbial greener pastures. But what happens when the move doesn't yield the desired results and the migrant finds themselves living in even more dire straits in urban slums, unable to return home due to financial constraints? In December last year, 50 families from the Kibra slums were supported in a unique experiment through the Kiska Repatriation Project to return home. Mary Mwoki caught up with the families who have defied the trend by returning to their ancestral homes in search of opportunities, and now brings you their stories.
This is the Ahero Trading Center on the Ahero-Kisumu Highway. These bumpy roads lead to the Ombeya Trading Center, where Tobias Osano has set up his business selling clothes and cereals. Prior to his repatriation to his rural home in Ahero, Tobias Osano lived in Kibra for 25 years, where he relied on casual and manual jobs to make ends meet. In his own admission, he says the situation was so unbearable that his family separated because of the financial situation.
Zingine unapata labda contract ya miezi 3 inaisha. Nikaanza kujiita ni kama asla. Tulikuwa na family pia ilikuwa ishaenda baada ya hayo mambo kuisha.
While in Nairobi, Osano says life was hard. He would go for days without a job and without money in his pocket. The harsh living conditions affected him psychologically, causing him sleepless nights where he would toss and turn, unable to sleep, worrying where his next meal and monthly rent would come from.
Ile time nilikuwa Nairobi, kuna time zile challenges uko nazo, kuna time ulikuwa unapoteza mpaka uzingizi. Maybe umeingia kulala saa 4. Imefika saa 6 usiku uzingizi imeisha. Lakini hapa hivi naweza lala tu, niko fresh nini nalala bila vitu mingi kwa akili. Juu hauna ile pressure ati kuna landlord atakuja kuniharas.
Osano has been in Ombeya for 4 months now and is yet to get used to what he terms as his incredibly good fortune. He proudly shows off his 3-roomed house that the Natural Capital Trust built for him. A chance encounter landed him in the Kiska Repatriation Project, a project repatriating slum dwellers to their ancestral homes as a means to decongest the slums and offer them better chances of living. The project aims to address the vicious circle of poverty in urban slums.
Wakaniambia kitu tunaweza kusaidia, labda juu nyumba yako imeanguka. Kama tunaweza kusupport kidogo. Tengenezee nyumba hata kama ni ya mchanga. Unaweza fanya kitu kama biashara. Nika feel interested. Nikaona hii idea ni mzuri.
For the last 4 months that he has been operating this business, Osano says it has been looking up. On a good day, he makes between 300 to 500 shillings, one after the other. Customers flock to his shop to buy food, something he says justifies his difficult but prudent decision to move back home after decades in the city. However, all was not rosy when he first moved back here. Even though his family was glad to have him back, the community wasn't receptive.
Hiyo kukaa sana muda refu bila kuja nyumbani. Pata kuna yani vijana wale walikuwa wamegrow wadogo wamekuwa wakubwa hawakujui. Wenye waliona ni yangu na ile kitu nafanya wakaanza kurudi, wamekuwa friendly. In fact, by the way wengi wao ni marafiki zangu na wengi wao ndio bado ma customers hapa hivi.
Nasikia vibaya kama mtoto yangu yuko nje. Nimesikia vibaya sana. Saa wengine nimelia. Kama imekuja nimefurahi sana.
In the neighboring Vihiga County in Ebusama village, Mary Nyagunga is a beneficiary of the same program. She had lived in Kibra for over 30 years and is among the 51 families that have been repatriated to their rural homes in the program. When we get to her home, she is busy setting up shop. She sells cereals from maize, beans, groundnuts and cooking oil right at her doorstep. She buys stock from the Busia border where it's cheaper and resells it to her community. She too was facilitated by the Natural Capital Trust to relocate and put up the business.
Tuanzishe biashara, mtu ajimudu pole pole. Pia wanatutumia pesa every mwisho wa mwezi. Siku mbili naweza tengeneza faida kama 500 sababu ninatoa alafu nagawa. Naona hii nitaweka hapa hivi, hii nitaweka hapa hivi. Nasema na hii tutakula hii. Na kama nimekula ndani nasema sisi nimejilipa hapo.
Mary's life in Kibra was a daily struggle. Her family fed on hard times when her husband, who was the sole breadwinner, had an accident that left him paralyzed. He could no longer fend for his family, and Mary couldn't either because her bedridden husband now required round-the-clock nursing. She had to steal whatever time she had to engage in odd jobs so as to put food on the table whilst educating her children. Life was unbearable, a family of 7 forced to live in a one-roomed mabati house. When she heard about the Kiska Repatriation Project, she was among the first to sign up. Her friends, though, were hesitant and doubtful that the organization would do what it was promising.
Kweli watu wanasema ukweli. Unajua sasa wengine unajua tu hali wa mama. Nasema ni uongo. Mimi hata wakiongea siongee kitu. Juu mimi nimesema liwa tawania mbele.
She decided to return to her ancestral home in Vihiga, but didn't have the money to facilitate the trip. With nothing to lose, she took a step of faith in partnership with the Natural Capital Trust and traveled the over 370 kilometers, ready to take a second stab at life in their rural home.
Saine nafika. Mimi nikabeba vitu zangu. Kasema naenda nyumbani. Sasa hata mzee kambalisha mangua, kafurahi. Katoka nje akasema hapa sirudi. Tulifika hapa saa 12. Nikaita shemeji yangu mwingine ako hapa, nikamwambia nimefika, kuja unisaidie kuinua ndugu yako.
A few kilometers away in Ebusakami village within Vihiga County, Lona Otambo is hard at work at her poultry business. It started with capital from the Kiska program. She too had lived in Kibra for over 30 years, living hand to mouth and unable to meet her basic needs. When Kiska came knocking, she grabbed the opportunity.
Mimi nilibeba mkono juu nikasema mimi naenda. Kulingana na hali imekuwa, Nairobi ni ngumu sana. Alafu Kibra ni ngumu zaidi. Kwa sababu hapo nani atakupatia? Sisi tulishukuru. Kubali tumefika saa hii. Nasema ni asante Mwenyezi Mungu.
This program offers a new lease of life for urban slum dwellers who have taken the leap and returned to their rural homes, offering them tailored support and resources to successfully integrate into their rural communities. The project began in September 2022 and has relocated 51 families so far, 33 of those in Siaya County, 11 in Vihiga and 9 families in Kisumu County. The repatriation package includes the provision of a home and business starting capital of 200,000 Kenya shillings. The beneficiaries are trained on business management and entrepreneurial skills. In addition, field officers pay regular visits to assess how the businesses are doing and offer support where necessary. The families also receive monthly stipends for a year to cushion them and allow their businesses to break even, as well as paying school fees for their children in the same period. In what may be a deal breaker for some, the beneficiaries also sign an agreement pledging not to return to the city again.
They do monitoring where the lady or the families have challenges. The chiefs will make a follow-up where there needs to be a family discussion with the elders of the family. The chiefs will come in timely. And we welcome the program because it is empowering our people.
Dr. Janet Mangera, the Executive Director of Natural Capital Trust, explained that the project aims to reverse the rural to urban migration pattern. To achieve this, the organization engaged a number of stakeholders such as village elders, religious leaders and local administration to shortlist the most vulnerable and help reintegrate them cordially into their rural communities.
We realized that the main impediment to people going back to their rural areas was actually having a livelihood source. We trained about 60 of them on business skills. After assessing their skills, we then trained them to try and translate their dreams and passions into real actionable business.
Prior to the repatriation, Dr. Mangera says the families underwent psychological counseling to prepare them for the shock of moving and possible hostile reception from the community. The program is funded by the Hungarian Malta and is expected to run for 2 years. The project has been tried elsewhere in Hungary and Syria, where urban slum dwellers were successfully repatriated to their rural communities and assisted with capital to support their livelihoods.
The Repatriation Project is a project that was triggered by our experiences working in the urban informal settlements, whereas we realized that people live in very pathetic situations, that back in Hungary they try the same kind of initiative with their populations in the marginalized areas, and therefore we felt this could be tried in this country.
The organization chose Kibra for the pilot program because of the high number of urban vulnerable within the population. The project will run for the next 2 years and may be extended depending on the availability of funds. Mary Mwoki, Citizen TV.